what was the approach that you were following to do the preparation? Was it watching the video, reading the textbook, or just you read the textbook first and then you started solving? What was the process?
Went through the curriculum, right? I understood the structure of the curriculum. I tried to get
Mhm.
a basic understanding of what the whole curriculum is put together like.
How many times before the actual exam you were able to go through the GARP book fully?
Two times was with your videos because I said there were two videos from your side. So the first time I listened very intently to everything in your video and
Mhm.
mapped it with the book one on one.
How many days before the exam you were able to complete the watching of the videos and the question bank, the chapter wise question bank?
Then I made my own plan that by this time I want to be able to have completed this.
How many mocks you gave before the exam?
About the exam is the fact that you can't just give the exam if you don't understand the topic. It's very practical. I mean, the questions, unless you have an in depth understanding, maybe out of the four, you can take off the two, but the two really, to get to the right answer, you need that understanding.
What was the average score you were getting in the mock? So, how many mocks you solved for GARP and how many Fintelligent mocks you have solved? Hello, guys. I hope everybody is doing good. Hi, this is Ganesh Nayak. I help finance professionals and students to excel in their career and become better version of themselves. And I also help students who are preparing for competitive exams in finance like CFA, FRM, and SCR. And today I have with me one of my students who has been able to clear the SCR exam in the last attempt, which is the April 2025 attempt. And she's going to be talking about her journey of preparing for the exam, what all challenges she faced, and how she managed to clear the exam. So we have with us Sathya. Thank you very much for taking out time. And if you can give a brief to the audience, what you were doing before you decided to go for SCR exam.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Sathya. Thanks to Ganesh sir and his guidance. We'll talk about that, I think, in the interview. So, I am an independent consultant. I'm based out of Bangalore, and my background is in internal audit and risk management. And increasingly, of course, there's a calling for climate risk, and that is how I embarked upon this journey of GARP SCR.
Okay. So you started, when did you started preparing for this certification?
So I have been, to be honest, eyeing this, I think, for the last 1.5 years that I want to do it. I have looked at the content. I tried to see whether it is a good fit. The actual preparation, of course, I travel a lot because of my work. I travel across the world. So I needed to find the right time and sign myself up. So I think February this year is when I said, now everything else then somehow takes a back seat. And then from
Mhm.
February until April is the time for GARP, SCR.
Okay. So you started exactly on 1st of Feb or was it in the mid of Feb?
No, I think somewhere around the end of the first week, beginning of the second week of February.
Okay. Okay. And from that day onwards, how many hours you were dedicating towards the preparation side?
See, it's very difficult to pinpoint a certain number of hours. There have been days,
Okay.
for example, weekends, I was totally dedicated to this. So
Okay.
Saturday and Sunday was away from everything else. It was just GARP, SCR preparation. During the work days, I think at least I would say I'm not a very, let's say, I'm not a night owl, so I can't go on beyond 10. So somewhere I would manage between calls. So whenever I found the time, I think on an average could be around at least 3 to 4 hours a day somehow. I would wake
Okay.
up early and manage between my meetings and work. Well,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's how I prepare.
And overall, so what was the approach that you were following to do the preparation? Was it watching the video, reading the textbook, or just you read the textbook first and then you started solving? What was the process?
Okay, so first I went through the curriculum, right? I understood the structure of the curriculum. I tried to get
Mhm.
a basic understanding of what the whole curriculum is put together like. And
Okay.
then there were two versions of the video that I saw on Fintelligents. So
Yes.
I first went to the newer version of the video. I kept
Okay.
my book open. Right, so I wouldn't. So I think the good thing was in your videos you would also pause and give people time to read. Right, you read till this point, and you would. I liked your starring. You know, this is a double star. This is a single star. So that was very no, that
Okay.
was very useful because I would mark star on my books. Even today, I
Okay.
think my children make fun of my book because it's fully marked everywhere, here and there,
Okay.
right? So what I was essentially doing is looking through your video And whenever there was a pause, I would take the pause and I would quickly skim through. I wouldn't read very detailed, but I skimmed through it. And as
Mm-hmm.
and when I completed a chapter, I would go back to the questions that you had, the
Yes.
chapter based questions, just to
Yes.
reinforce my understanding. I didn't solve all of them. I would maybe take one or two tests on,
Mm-hmm.
the topic, and then I
Okay.
would move on to the next chapter. So this is how I covered all the chapters.
And how many times before the actual exam you were able to go through the GARP book fully?
So what I did is two times was with your videos, because I said there were two videos from your side. So the first time I listened very intently to everything in your video and
Mhm.
mapped it with the book one on one. Right. The second time around, I was going through your videos was more those areas which were still not very clear to me. Right. So I would skim through I wouldn't listen to every second of your video, but I will just, seek the area where
Mhm.
you're talking about a particular topic, and there I would spend more time with the book also. After I finished your videos, after I finished now for all the chapters, let's say quite a few number of question banks from the chapter wise question bank, I didn't
Yes,
go to
yes.
the mock yet. Right. What I did is then I kept the video out and I did a very thorough reading of the book to
Okay.
understand whether I remember and what I don't remember, because that is also important, right?
Hmm.
And what I felt was a bit challenging for me in this phase was essentially all these various acronyms, right?
Ha.
So
Hmm.
there is TCFD, there's PCAF, SBTI, GFANs, and so on. There's just lots. So,
Right.
and again, if I see TCFD has given various guidance for various topics. So, what I did, I took a notebook as I read along.
Mhm.
I made a acronym based, let's say, list. So, what all
Okay.
has TCFD given me? What all did I read through GFANs? What is PCAF telling me? So then I was, and because that is where I was struggling a bit when the questions came. I was not immediately able to relate. It's familiar, but is it this one or the other one was a
Okay.
challenge.
So you basically made your own notes, a short
Well,
notes for that.
not just short notes. I think I filled up
Okay.
two notebooks. I love writing and learning. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah, it was a lot of hard work, but happy it paid off. But I love writing. So I
Okay.
would read, I would pause, I would write down what I have learned. But even so, I think with the acronyms, perhaps also I'm not straight out of college. With 20 years of working, then your mind
Right.
also
Right.
takes a bit of time to learn things. So that's how I did it.
Okay. Okay. And how many days before the exam you were able to complete the watching of the videos and the question bank, the chapter wise question bank,
So
if you would remember?
this I had done pretty comfortably. I think I took my exam on the 21st. So by the end of April, see, I also had some business travel in the meanwhile. I also had to travel for personal work.
Okay.
So in between all this, but still with a concerted effort, I think with a plan. I mean, I made a plan week wise. I
Okay.
couldn't keep up with what was given by you, but then I made my own plan that by this time I want to be able to have completed this. And I
Okay.
think I had a easy 10 days, 2 weeks when I had completed all of this and I was left with the mocks.
Okay. Okay. And how
Yeah.
many mocks you gave before the exam?
Yeah, so what I did also was, I think it's also useful to mention, there is this Udemy course also, which gave
Yes. Which has
some
the question
I,
bank.
question bank, right? And some 10 mocks there. But those mocks were not like the mocks that you had, right? So it was, I think maybe towards the end, there was one which was closer to the exam, but the nine of them were more reinforcing topics. So
Right.
what I
Slightly
did is
easier, basically.
very easy actually. About the exam is the fact that you can't just give the exam if you don't understand the topic. It's very practical. I mean, the questions, unless you have an in-depth understanding, maybe out of the four you can take off the two, but the two really, to get to the right answer, you need that understanding.
Okay. Okay. And what was the average score you were getting in the mock? So you, how many mocks you solved for GARP and how many intelligent mocks you have solved?
So Fintelligent, I solved all of them, the four mocks that were there.
Okay.
And I solved the GARP website mock that they have.
Okay.
Apart from that, there were 10 mocks on Udemy because I
So
had
you
time,
solved all of them, all of them.
I solved all of them. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what was the average score? So if you can tell me in terms of bifurcation, like GARP mocks, what was the average score you were getting out of 90?
So the Fintelligent one you're saying.
How you can start with that also. No problem.
Yeah, so the Fintelligent mocks, I think, in terms of percentage, right? I mean, how many questions I was getting right. I also had it noted down somewhere, but I think I was easily getting more. I think it was touching 80
Out of
usually.
90 questions, around 70 were correct.
Yeah, 70, 75 I would get correct. So I was, in terms of number of questions, I think I was getting somewhere early 70s.
Okay.
Uh,
And in terms of the GARP sample paper, what
also
was the
there,
score?
I was getting around 75, 74 because it's only one paper.
Right, right. The
Yeah.
2025 paper that you saw.
Yeah, yeah, the one on their website, yes.
Okay, okay, interesting. And this score is very good because normally
I would
students
think for this.
who have given the mock papers, so they
Okay.
generally get around 45, 50, and then they
Okay.
reach out to me asking whether it's a good score or not.
I
So
think
that
there
is
was
a
one
trend.
mock where it was pretty, I think in 60s, and
Third mock.
I can't remember which one it was, but
Third is
yeah,
actually tougher mock that we have
okay.
put in.
Can't remember that, but then I was asking, is it good to get a 67% or something? Is it still there?
Mhm.
And the thing is, you never know how much is enough, right? Because they normalize
Right.
the scores. Yeah. Until you get the
And
results.
and you had also solved the case study questions and
Yes, I did.
the calculation based question which were available.
Yeah. So
Correct?
what it is, I solved the case study. Case study was at least easy for me to solve somehow. But in terms of the calculation questions, sometimes maybe it's also feedback because there are different ways to calculate, right?
To
What you
calculate,
want
yes,
to arrive at.
yes,
So
yes.
that somehow, even in the solution, was not very clear to me how
Yes.
you got to it. So what I would try to do is try to do a lot of calculations here and there, you apply all
Mhm.
the formula and see which way it has been worked out. So
So actually,
perhaps,
the reason being, na,
yeah,
because the calculation part is available in the GARP required reading,
yes,
which is the weighted average carbon, and they have
correct,
not given any questions, any sample question for that
right,
explicitly.
correct,
And there are few sections within the GARP book. For example, there is current issue, current
mm,
ratio,
mm,
quick ratio, which has been tested in the past exam, but they have
correct,
not given any formula or anything. They've just mentioned the
yes,
interest coverage ratio, for example.
correct, correct,
So it is expected that you're doing a finance exam, so you would know about it.
yeah,
So
correct,
that is one thing. But yes, we are doing a lot of review of the question bank also now
okay,
to increase the difficulty level of it
okay, mm,
in terms of the mock. And
right,
when you went to the actual exam,
mm-hmm,
so uh, first of all, what was the confidence level before you started? And when you
mm-hmm.
started, how was the first 1 hour? What did you did in the first 1 hour?
Okay, so in terms of the confidence, I said this is as much as I can do because the preparation, in my view, knowing myself was very thorough, right? I have gone through the book. I mean, I also went through the required readings. Now, that was very useful because I didn't, of course, have the time to look through, though I took a printout of all the required readings. Of course, it's not possible in the given time for me to sit and read through all of it. So my priority was actually to go through the required readings PPT that you had prepared because, and in my view that is good enough. I mean, that level of knowledge from the required readings helped me very well in the exam.
Okay.
So in terms of preparation confidence, I just said now it's up to God. Yeah, I mean, you have done your bit, and now whatever, I mean, you can't do much, you did your
Okay.
part. So in the exam, I went with that mindset. So I said, I'm not going to be stressing out. So the
Okay.
first thing that I noticed is this time the questions were much shorter
Mhm.
than even the GARP mock questions.
Okay. Okay.
So usually, it's I realized you need a lot of time to read through, to understand, and
Mm.
all of this. Like
Mm.
you're a climate specialist, there's a lot of
A
it,
lot of
right?
unnecessary information is also
Yeah,
there. Yes.
right. And you eventually learn to skim through unnecessary information and come to what is required.
Right.
So I realized the questions were much shorter. That gave me some solace. I said, okay, this is good. And what I did in the first 1 hour is, of course, I went on through the questions. Whatever I didn't know, I didn't freak out. I just said, mark it for review. And then
Okay.
you come back to it later. First, go through all the 90 in, one go. See
Mm-hmm.
what is direct, whatever you know you can answer, do it. Right? Don't
Okay.
waste too much time or fret or panic. That doesn't
Okay.
help. So that is what I did.
Okay. Okay. And you were able to manage the entire 4 hours, 90 question. There was no time crunch. There's
No,
no.
no. Time
Okay.
was never an issue ever. I mean, I felt there's lots of time. And in fact, I had time enough to go through all the questions two times after I finished.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And
So it was,
and the case study, because generally the case study is slightly tougher.
yes.
Okay. And what I have heard, it generally comes from the last two chapters, or one of the
Yeah,
case study would connect to that chapter. So did you
correct.
found the case studies being tougher
See, the case
as compared to
study
the.
was, yeah, it was tough because the questions were worded very tricky, right? It wasn't so
Okay.
straightforward. And also, what helped perhaps is, at least I did not come across CBAM as a topic in what I studied. But in
Hmm.
my work, I know CBAM. So
Okay.
there was a question on CBAM in as a case study question, and therefore I knew what it means, and therefore I could apply myself to it. But
Okay.
you're right, it is pretty complex. Case study questions are never like a reading comprehension where you will find the answer in what you
In the
read.
section itself.
Yes,
Okay.
you have to interpret, you have to,
Hmm.
yeah, maybe there is some basic thing that you find. This is how I found the case studies. You find a basic clue in the
Okay.
question itself, but then you have to apply some other knowledge somewhere else, could be sitting in any other chapter to that, to be able to arrive at the right answer.
Okay. Okay. And how many calculation questions were there in the out of 90, if you remember, on an average?
See, there was not, I mean, in my set, there was not a standalone calculation question. So it was part of the case study, like I said, the CBAM part, and so therefore there were the weighted average carbon
Right.
intensity question. Yeah, this was there.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
But
And now,
yeah.
if I ask you to give three tips to somebody who is preparing for the exam, okay,
Mhm.
then what would be that from your experience?
I would say planning and preparation has to be thorough. First, you have to understand
Hmm.
what the exam expects from you. I think
Okay.
that is the first thing that you have to do. Second, I
Hmm.
would say I know most of them taking this exam are going to be professionals. So it's, of course, the balance, time management, and sticking to the schedule and trying to do. Third, I would say is not to get perturbed when you're getting low on marks, so I think it should be a stepping stone, learning the mock, right? Understand where you're weak and maybe not focus, let's say, equally on all chapters, but have after your first revision and your first mock, maybe you understand where your weakness lies. Because for me, for example, the chapter on climate risk, measurement, management, scenario analysis was pretty easy because I'm coming from a risk management background. Right.
Hmm.
So it was easier for me to understand all types of risks and what are the matrices and the parameters. But perhaps it's not going to be the same for somebody who's not coming from that background. So it's
Right.
important really to understand that where your weakness is. Like I said, in my case, it was the acronyms which drove me crazy. So I
Right.
found a way to that. I think that would be my advice to people.
Wonderful, wonderful. I mean, Satya, this conversation is really, really going to be helpful for a lot of candidates, especially the working professionals, how to manage. And the way you said, no, you're writing, you've completed
Yes.
2 books, writing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have to prepare like a student because you have to
Yes,
give
I
the
agree.
importance to that exam. Okay,
Absolutely.
because a lot of time we assume that since I'm working, I'm in that domain, I would know. But
Yeah,
to solve that question, that 2 minute, it requires
absolutely.
some level of patience also. So from
Absolutely.
that perspective, wonderful. And this conversation is going to be really helpful for all the
Thank you.
candidates who are going to go for the upcoming exam. Thank you very
Thank
much
you
for
so
taking
much.
our time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.